Am I wrong to be upset that my wife thought I was cheating when I was really just grabbing lunch with my mom? I feel like this is upsetting me more than it should. This morning I had to pick my mom up at the airport while my wife went to work. I was hoping to be back by around early afternoon, but I didn't really plan anything out. After I picked up my mom from the airport, I ended up staying at her house and chatting for a bit. Then she offered to go grab lunch since it was around noon. So I ended up staying longer than I expected with my mom. At the same time, we were waiting to get our broken car towed from our house, and the tow company didn't give us a heads up when they'd arrive. So lo and behold, they showed up while I was still out grabbing lunch with my mom. I get a call from my wife while at the restaurant saying the tow company showed up and neither of us are home. In a panic, my wife had to rush home during work and open the door and get the car out for them. I quickly finished my lunch and rushed home as well. She was understandably upset that I was not home, and I apologized to her for taking longer than expected with my mom, but also said the tow company should have given us a heads up or something. So that part is understandable. But then she told me I was being weird over the phone and was basically accusing me of doing something behind her back. To explain, this restaurant my mom and I went to was a small Chinese place that was not busy. There was no music and only like 3 other people there in a small room. So when I got the phone call, I tried to talk quietly so the entire restaurant wouldn't hear me. Call it social awkwardness or whatever, but I don't like airing my problems out to everyone else eating. It was also weird because she usually texts me instead of calls. I mentioned this because she said I sounded suspicious over the phone, like I had just been caught doing something, and she thought she heard a girl in the background. It was my mom. This is what she told me. I guess maybe I was wrong to not mention that I was going to eat with my mom, and it took longer than expected. I didn't think it would be a problem because I didn't expect the tow company to show up randomly. I just feel really insulted that she didn't give me the benefit of the doubt or anything. We've been married for years now. I never once showed any signs of disloyalty. To be suddenly accused of this is just really upsetting. Like all my efforts to be a good husband was meaningless. I have to constantly worry if I'm doing something that accidentally looks like cheating now. I don't know what I can do to make myself look more trustworthy, or somehow get her to get over this insecurity. Anyway, this really upset me and I'm not sure if I'm the one being irrational about this or not. Comment. I think your wife jumping to conclusions says more about her insecurities than your behavior having lunch with your mother. Perhaps ask her why she would think so poorly given no other indication of infidelity. This is one where I think the OP knows what's actually going on, and it's dumb to ask the internet with no context. He knows if his wife is irrationally paranoid about cheating. He knows if he was, objectively, acting suspicious. He knows if this is a pattern of behavior from either side, etc. We don't know any of that. Why would he get any insight from us? Did she actually say she thought you were cheating? Did she believe your explanation? If she is genuinely treating you like she believes you were with another woman, that's a serious allegation and you are right to take it seriously. As I tell women here all the time, you shouldn't be with someone who's telling you they think you're a shitty person who would cheat on them. But if it's more like, I expected you to be at home from your errand, and instead you call me from some other random location in this weird rushed way like you don't want anyone to hear you, and I heard a woman's voice in the background, and it all seemed very weird, I could understand her wondering what the hell was going on. I don't think you are being irrational or overreacting here. I'd be incredibly hurt too if my spouse accused me of cheating with absolutely no reason or proof. I think talking to her about this and why she feels so insecure would be a good thing. Maybe even some counseling together to help your communication. You are not being irrational at all. Your wife essentially said she doesn't trust you and that doing normal, everyday things will open you up to suspicion and accusations. That would make anyone hurt and angry. If she doesn't trust you, the marriage is broken. Okay, so try to see it from her point of view. You weren't where you were expected to be. You were being quiet and awkward, admittedly, and she heard another woman's voice. You didn't give her a heads up that you were grabbing food with your mom. Your wife had no idea what was going on. You didn't say, "Hey, I'm at a restaurant with my mom," when you picked up. You gave zero indications at any point until your wife got suspicious. Should she have asked what you were doing? Yes. Should you have told her? Also yes. Did you both dive off the deep end over this? Also yes. You both need to communicate better. Babe, you're acting weird. What's going on? Could have resolved it because you could have told her you're at a restaurant with your mom. Or you could have just given her a heads up by text quickly at any point prior. You've done nothing wrong, so you do not need to do anything to make yourself more trustworthy. You're as trustworthy as they come. What's going on with your wife? Have the two of you been distant lately? Is one of her friends putting ideas in her head? Is she reading too much Reddit? Is she cheating? Wait, not being home when he said he would be for a service call is untrustworthy by itself. And it wasn't a short running out to drop the kids off or get a quick coffee at Starbucks. It was a long pickup mom from the airport and then getting lunch at a sit-down restaurant, then dropping mom off at her place. That had to be a few hours at the least. It was long enough that the wife called him to coordinate that she should left work, drive home, care of everything, car was towed and gone, before he made it back home. That's a lot of irresponsibility and untrustworthiness on his part. Story 2. I feel my husband doesn't love me or our children anymore. I don't know how to handle this. My husband and I have been married for 2 years now. Everything was great until I got pregnant, and now that the babies are here, I think he feels trapped. I definitely wanted kids more than him, but our babies were indeed planned. We were very excited when we found out I was pregnant. Things were going very well until I was diagnosed with pregnancy complications at the start of my 3rd trimester and was put on bed rest. This meant I could no longer do most things around the house like laundry and dishes and cooking. I lost my job right before I got pregnant, so I was doing all housework. It also prevented me from being able to watch over his other 2 kids as they needed active supervision. So, my husband began doing pretty much everything. I can't tell you how many times I apologized for not being able to help, and I continuously expressed my appreciation for all the extra work he was doing. I felt incredibly guilty as I was in bed all day while he worked crazy long hours and then came home to manage dinner, children, etc. He was exhausted for sure. Not to mention, bed rest meant zero intimacy. But as time went on, I started to feel as if he was starting to resent me because of the situation. I don't think he meant to, but he was just frustrated with everything landing on his shoulders. He also started answering any pregnancy tiny complaint I had, my back hurts, etc., with, "Well, you were the one who wanted to have kids." He insisted he was not upset, that this line was just a joke. But I don't believe that. I could feel the frustration, and it got to the point where I started breaking bed rest rules to help with chores. He told me to stop this, but I could see some relief in his face. Still, I noticed he stopped wanting to watch Netflix with me. He didn't say "I love you" like he used to. He barely kissed me. Everything was initiated by me. Hell, I even researched topics he enjoyed to have a conversation with him he'd enjoy, and he ignored me. And when I offered what intimacy I could without breaking the bed rest rules, he turned me down after nearly 3 months of no intimacy. I gave birth early and our kids went through a very traumatic NICU experience. Illness, near death, shitty doctors, etc. It was so rough on both of us. However, things continued to get worse. My husband tried to go out with friends all night the first night my son came home. I have never stopped him from going out with his friends until this moment. I was furious. He nearly made me Uber with one baby to see the other in the NICU because he said he didn't have time to drive us to the hospital. He did end up canceling some things so we could go. But only because I wasn't going to be home to watch his oldest too. He told me he isn't going to bond with our babies until they're like 6 MOS because he finds them boring right now. He constantly talks of burdens in his life. The babies and I are included a lot here. How he has to manage the doctors and insurance and government paperwork. How he has to keep taking us to visit the doctor. Everything we need from him seems to just be a burden. He told me my stress is nothing compared to his because I am just taking care of babies. 1. Never mind the postpartum struggles, recovering from my children almost dying, living thousands of miles away from my family. He only engages with the babies when his other kids are over at our house. I love his kids, I've considered them as mine since the beginning. But it's starting to feel like they're number 1 and the rest of us are more like number 6 or 7. I have to literally fight with him to hold the babies. Not even feed or change their diaper. Just hold them. He talks to his ex-wife more than he talks to me right now. Granted, he hates her, but how is it that she hears his voice more than me? And he lets her rule his life no matter the impact it has on the rest of us. He's gone to bed without so much as a good night. He doesn't spend more than maybe an hour at most with me or the babies, and we are lucky if we get event that from him. He works late, but then he spends his time home working more, talking to friends and sleeping. He traveled for work and I mentioned that our bed felt empty without him in it, trying to initiate a sweeter moment like the ones we used to have. All he said was, "I'm sorry." He told me to go buy my own birthday present. I don't even know how to do that with 2 newborns. We didn't celebrate my birthday due to my bed rest aside from having cake. He spent the entire night away afterwards. This isn't the man I married. I know he is busy and tired and overworked, but he seems to have energy for everyone except our babies and me. I can hear him laughing on the phone with his friends and co-workers and family, but he's stone-faced at home. I feel we are one straw away from the end. I just want the band-aid to rip off already so I can not cry so much about it. I love him, I moved across the world for him, but I no longer feel he loves me back. Our anniversary is next week. I haven't said anything as I want to see if he even remembers. My PP restrictions end next week too, but I don't think he even cares. He doesn't even look at me much anymore. And honestly, I don't think he would care if I packed my bags and carried those babies back to my country. I want to be wrong. But this can't just be a result of being overworked or tired. Something is wrong, and I am almost sure it has to do with our family. With me and our babies. I don't know how to bring this up. I'm almost just waiting for the snap where one of us finally loses it. Because right now we are just silent, and that scares me more than fighting. I just don't know how to fight about this. I don't even know if it's worth fighting for. I can't live like this for much longer. I just can't. If it were just me, maybe I could take it. But if he's going to not love our kids, then we have to leave. They don't deserve to feel secondary. I won't allow it. I just don't know what to do. Comment. I'm curious how old his children from the precious marriage were when you two met. He's great with them now. But he hates his ex. How was he with his ex when they were first born? Is that resentment due to the way he treated her initially? I may be extremely off, but it's worth a thought. Maybe his ex had to involve her mother because he alienated her just like he's alienating you now. His behavior seems to support that scenario more than the tale of the evil ex he's told you. Oh, definitely. A friend of his actually messaged me to say he had been recording our arguments, had making fun of me online. It weirded them out because I guess nothing I said was out of line. He was a gossip but also refused to communicate with me. Bizarre. I'm sure his new girlfriend thinks I'm Satan incarnate. I only talk smack about one of my exes, but to be fair, he was absurdly horrible. He had a GF and dated me and 2 other girls and was physically abusive to his GF. He needs help. But everyone else, I mean, I like them. They were great people. We just didn't fit. No reason for ill will. I, however, would say that if any of my exes would say I was crazy, I would own up to it. I was. I still am. Therapy helps, but I'm still a wild card, haha. I know I go out of my way to never talk smack about my exes.